Welcome to the What's Your Ceiling podcast. We're your hosts, Monte Wyatt and Paul Szynski. Wherever you are in life, there is a higher ceiling. This podcast is how you become aware of it and how to take action to push through it. It's time to discover your ceiling. Before we get into this month's episode, here's a short message from Adding Zero's Executive Development. As CEO, you demand performance and results from your team. If you're committed to developing a cohesive, driven organization that achieves successful outcomes every single month, we need to talk. It's time to see how organizational and executive development from Adding Zeros can help. We focus on strategic planning, executive coaching, team alignment and engagement, organizational culture, and clarity of implementation. Contact Monte Wyatt by booking an appointment at www.addZerosNow.com. That's ADDZEROSNOW.com, AddZerosNow.com. If you're ready, now is the time. I have a few coaching spots available for 2025. Lock in your team today. Now let's begin today's episode. Welcome to the What's Your Ceiling podcast, where we talk about your health, your family, your business. I'm Monte Wyatt.
Paul Szynski.
If you are a CEO, a business owner, executive, this is the show for you. We call our audience the achiever because you're always striving for the next level. I am excited for today's conversation. We have a great gentleman that's going to give us some good stories. He is a dynamic leader, author, and speaker who empowers organizations to cultivate thriving workplaces. Drew Harden is a CEO and founder of Blue Compass, a digital marketing agency powerhouse. He's built a nationally recognized company renowned for its exceptional culture, and looking forward to talking more about that. And Drew is a frequent keynote speaker at conferences across the country, inspiring, equipping, and leaders to create workplaces where employees flourish. So Drew, welcome to the show. Look forward to our conversation.
Thanks for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
Yes, welcome.
You know, we always like to start with a good topic to get us going. And, in relation to your business and what you've done, I want to have the topic today being leading through culture. So Paul, when you hear the phrase leading through culture, what comes to mind to you?
Well, I think that sets the precedent for your company, their attitude. I think it's leadership through culture is really important. I think that's what's the glue to retain employees and keep people hire the right employees.
Absolutely. Drew, how about you?
Totally agree. Well said. I don't know if I could say it better than that, but yeah, culture is everything in an organization. And I was talking earlier about how I define culture, and I really think culture is the sum of the leadership, the interactions, and the values of the workplace every day. It's how we feel when we go home in the evening or when we log off in the evening. And a lot of workplaces miss that, and a lot of leaders miss that. And sometimes, as leaders, we're just so focused on the bottom line, or we're so focused on the to-do list or the emails or whatever that might be, that we forget about the experiences that our team members are having each and every day. And if we can create workplaces where they feel supported, where no one's trying to steal credit from one another's, where departments aren't fighting with one another, people generally have good relationships where they're connecting with their people, then it's going to be a great place to work, and you'll probably do well as an organization.
Yeah, I think this is a great topic because I think you'll find, people take for granted, I think, leadership in some aspects. And why I mean that is if you ever see a company that's excelling or doing something, or a community that's excelling at something, people want to join that team, right? But a lot of them don't realize where that came from. And every time you see a great company or a great community or a great football team or whatever, there's a leader. And it's leaders that attract great leaders. And it just doesn't happen. A lot of people go there and they join the team. They think it's just the way it is. It isn't. It takes work. It takes the right attitude and the right people. And I think we'll probably talk about it here in a little bit, talk about core values. And building that culture and atmosphere is really important. But every success story, if you go and dig into it, you'll see it comes back to that leadership. Yeah. Anywhere you look at it.
When I think of leadership through culture, I think of it as the leaders of the business are the ceiling of the organization. So the team is a reflection of how that leader acts, how they behave, how they talk to others. And if the leader is acting a certain way, it's going to influence how everybody else acts every single day.
Yes. And, leaders need to remember people listen to what you say and watch what you do. Mm-hmm. And everything, however you behave, people will become aware of that. Emotions are contagious, attitudes are contagious. And so everyone wins when a leader gets better. A leader has to be positive. It has to be optimistic. We can't yell at our people, It's not like we have to sugarcoat everything, but you have to be at your best when you're a leader, and that's not easy. That can be really difficult. None of us are perfect, and I've never been perfect either, but leaders have to model the behavior they want from their team. And I think you're totally right. I mean, a business is often like a microcosm of the leader or vice versa.
Right.
And when I look at my organization, Blue Compass, a lot of times I see, some of our strengths, I feel like those are my strengths, and some of our weaknesses, I feel like those are my weaknesses. And it's really difficult for an organization to ascend above the level of a leader. And that's why I need to keep improving, getting better. And that's one of the things I can do to help and support my team.
Well, Drew, the reason Monte obviously asked you to be on here is because Blue Origin has a reputation of a great culture. And I'm looking forward to hear how you built that and to have that reputation today. Because I know you went through the growth periods of, when you weren't there.
Yeah.
I think I'd like to hear how you went from A through Z. And obviously you're always evolving to get better. And I understand you've written 3 books now, and lay out how that started out and what was that thing that popped up one day and realized you had to go to even a better leadership than what you were.
Yeah. Okay. So Blue Compass was created in 2007, and I used to work at a video production company, and it was a great job, but I really loved the web. I loved digital. I thought it was so dynamic, and I wanted to help good organizations get a clear direction for their online presence. And Kerry, who is now our CIO, he's my business partner, and I convinced him to leave and start the business too. We were both of our wives were pregnant with both of our first children. It was a big risk, maybe a dumb thing to do, but I was never afraid to do so just because I was so passionate. So it really taught me, when your passion outweighs your fear, you can do some incredible things. So we ended up quitting our jobs. So, that was one of the main reasons we did that. But another reason was, Paul, we wanted to have a great culture. We wanted to work at a place that we loved. And the previous job had gotten a little toxic, a little negative. There was drama, there was gossip and things like that. Mm-hmm. And we wanted to just enjoy our work every day. We wanted to have a great experience. So those are really the 2 reasons we began. And I would say for the first few years, things went pretty well. We grew slowly. We hired a person there, hired a person here, and we got an office. We moved into a bigger office, and things were good. And then in 2012, I often say it's the best and worst thing that ever happened to us, but we got a huge client. We had 8 people. We were very small. We got a massive client, and we doubled overnight. We went from 8 to 16 people right away. And that was the first time I ever saw any drama or gossip or anything like that creep in. And I was shocked. I'm like, how could this happen? Is the power of my personality not enough to fuel an incredible culture? It is not. So I realized you have to be purposeful about this culture thing. And I'm like, I got to upgrade my leadership here. And we didn't have any values or anything like that. We didn't have any mission. So I started to realize, okay, we need to define those organizational values. We got to have something to shoot for, and I got to become more serious about this. So it took years, and I'm still learning, but we figured it out, and we got the culture turned around and improved, and we got rid of some people we probably shouldn't have had on our team back then. And there's always ups and downs, but things have been good since then.
Now, when you had that, you wanted to change that because you didn't expect it to creep in, and it did. Did you change that by starting SOP processes and stuff, or how did you get that? What was the mechanics of getting that changed?
Well, the values were the big thing because we didn't have values. So I realized it. So we talked a lot about okay, what values do we want? And I think every organization has values, whether you set them or not.
They set themselves. Them vision values, right? Is that what you call them? Or what did you call them?
Visible values. So you got to have core values in your organization, but they have to be visible. So not only on the wall, And I mentioned, we have them on our wall, we have them in our proposals, we have them on our intranet, we have them in our presentations, like they're all over the place. Every team meeting we have, I actually go through each one of our values, and then I ask someone to give me an example of how they saw that in the last month. So we do a little storytelling there, and also someone gets a shout out for fulfilling that. I give them a heads up beforehand. I don't just surprise them.
Yeah.
But those are some great ways to make the values more visible. But the best way you can make them visible as a leader is to live them out yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Live them out yourself. And if I go around, we have 5 values, and if I am not living any of those out, I can't really expect anyone else to do so as well. So one of the best ways to get the behavior you want from someone is to model it yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Drew, you had mentioned, was talking to both me and Monte earlier, I really like the comment is you felt your core values were all equal, but you like to see the individuals put what they put first. And tell us a little bit about that. What do you find out when that happens?
Sure. So real briefly, our 5 value statements are: we are positive, we grow our expertise, we support one another, we give clients our best, and we reject drama and gossip. So is one of those better than the other? I don't know. I have maybe my favorite. But one thing that we do occasionally when we interview people is we say, hey, which one do you think is most important? Mm-hmm. And which one do you think is least important? Because when we hire someone, we have to have someone who appreciates those values, who believes in them. Mm-hmm. Anyone can, and if some person, maybe they have great skills, but they're like, the positivity thing, that's not really me. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that, but they're not a good fit for Blue Compass.
Right.
And maybe there's another organization they'll be great for. So we're not the right fit for everyone. And there's probably no business that is the right fit for everyone. So it's really important. You got to get people that are aligned with the company culture.
And what do you do to find those people? How do you attract them, and how do you train them that these are the values that we want you to live by?
Yeah. Well, for us, we generally have a pretty good name for ourselves when it comes for culture. We've won a lot of awards for our culture. We're really blessed to have done so. And we're pretty active on like social media and everything. So it's not difficult to see what type of culture we have.
Yep.
You can go on our YouTube channel. I mean, we have crazy fun videos of us shooting basketballs off the roof and things like that. I mean, we do. It's kind of a youthful, fun place to work. So generally, we don't have a lot of problem attracting people, but it's just, okay, how do we get the right person there? And I don't know if there's any perfect way to find the right person. I think the best job interview I've seen is an internship, because you get to actually work with the person, mm-hmm. and both parties can see how they like the other one. But, when we do have to interview, that's fine. And we just do our best to be open and transparent and set expectations as a company. I mean, there's a lot of interviews out there where 2 parties will be sitting across from one another, and both of them are stretching the truth a little bit. And you can't do that, because you got to set the right expectations. So I can't go in there and say Blue Compass is the best place to work. There's no problems here. Everything's perfect. Because that's not true. We're not perfect. So I need to be really open and honest about our weaknesses, and here's what you'll expect, and here's what will happen. And hopefully the other party does as well.
Right. And I think anytime you're growing, your company's growing, you're going to have growing pains, and you're going to always, mm-hmm. nobody's perfect. But with the leadership, you hope you plow through that.
And I love that you shared that, because it's about attracting the right folks, but then it's about keeping the right folks. Mm-hmm. And so tell us about a time where you've hired the wrong person, but you didn't know it yet.
Oh, yeah. Well, we're pretty good at it now. It doesn't happen as often, but man, back in, 10, 15 years ago, it happened a lot more. But, even today, we're not perfect at it. I don't think anyone is. Yeah. So you do your best through the interview process. We always try to get examples of past behavior, because that's the best predictor of future behavior. We always check references. For us, sometimes I get criticized for this, but our interview process isn't particularly fast. Mm-hmm. And occasionally, we'll be like, man, this person's really good. And then they'll get a job elsewhere because we were too slow. Mm-hmm. But one of the main things, the biggest things you can do to impact your culture is add someone to it. So we have to get the right people. That's so important. And you can teach skills, but you can't teach personality. You have to have the right personality. That's really important too. So, we'll have multiple interviews. We always have to have at least 3. At least one of the interviews has to be outside the office in a more casual setting. We have a lot. We can't just have 2 or 3 people that interview this person at our office. We have numerous people have to do it, and we have a lot of discussions about it. So it's kind of a long process, and sometimes, people will hire a lot quicker. But again, we got to be sure. It's important.
Yeah, I've had that happen too. We got a three interview process. So do you have a probationary period, like 90 days?
Yes.
Okay. Tell me a little bit about it.
So
is it 90 days?
Yes, it is 90 days. Yep. And basically the first 90 days, just more check-ins than normal. It's important to have one-on-ones with your team members. Every manager should have one-on-ones. We generally do weekly one-on-ones, with everyone. And even more than that with someone who's in their first 90 days. We have a 90-day review to make sure, things are going well. We want their feedback. We give ours, things like that. The last person I think that we had to let go, we realized probably, I don't know, maybe 30 days in or something, and this isn't going the right way. So when that happens, I think some companies are too quick to fire and some companies are way too slow to fire. Mm-hmm. And for us, you got to be really transparent and set the expectations. And so we worked with this person multiple times a week. There would be meetings. Okay, here's what we want you to do or hit, and let's review how you did with our last expectations that we set. Lots of communication. When you let someone go, it should never be a surprise to that person. Yep. So we worked incessantly with this person, and eventually, both parties knew this is not the right fit. And so we had to dismiss that person. And that sounds mean, that sounds bad, that sounds unfortunate, but sometimes the kindest thing you can do is let someone go. You have to protect your culture. There's so many cultures out there, especially in big corporations, and they're very happy to have bad apples on their team, and it ruins things for everyone else. It drags the team down. It's very negative, but whether it's, for legal reasons or whatever it might be, they're just so slow to do anything about it. And so we believe you got to protect your culture.
Absolutely. I think that's probably one. And Monte, you deal with people all over the United States. You probably, what's the motto? Slow to hire, quick to fire, I think is what it is. But you might want to elaborate on that.
I think it's an interesting thing just to slow down, because it is about understanding the person. And if we hire too fast, it does impact the culture. And I want to hear how'd you learn all of this? And you said you started your company when you were 25. Yeah. And it took a few years to get the growth that you wanted. But how did you learn this about culture? And I know you said that you didn't like the culture that you were at before. Yeah. But how'd you learn how to do all these little things?
I knew none of this when I started Blue Compass. And the main way I know this is through mistakes. And there's 2 good ways to learn. One is from mentors and the other is from mistakes. Mentors is a less painful way to learn, but both are good ways to learn. So for the first, probably 5-10 years of my career, I did not do a good job of learning from mentors. I didn't have a business coach. I didn't read a lot or anything like that. And I always say that's probably one of my bigger mistakes starting out, because like I mentioned, it's so important for a leader to learn and grow and get better. It's good for everyone. So I didn't do a great job of that. So I think probably around the time I mentioned, when we got that big client and I noticed the culture wasn't great, it's probably when I got real serious about it. But yeah, I just started reading. I started asking questions. I would go to coffee with people older and wiser and smarter than me. And I just was very purposeful about learning it. And I don't know, I started to enjoy it, and I started to really value the power of great leadership. Mm-hmm. And so I started writing books about it, and I started, blogging about it and making videos about it and things like that. So I don't know, it's been probably a long, painful process, but I wasn't born with any of this knowledge or insight. And I don't know that great leaders are born necessarily.
I would agree with that. It is about a learning atmosphere. And great leaders are constantly looking for ways to learn, whether it is through mentors or mistakes. And we've got to make the time every week to recognize that.
Yeah.
And I think that's a powerful reflection tool is taking a step back and recognizing what mistakes happened this week. What are we going to do differently next week to ensure this doesn't happen again?
Yeah.
And for myself, whatever I'm doing.
It's something we talked about earlier, that you come from a great family.
Well, thanks.
And
I like to think so.
And your dad's a legend here in Iowa. A lot of people don't realize that. Van Harden, who was a legend, was part of WHO radio for years. He did a lot of fundraising. He did a lot of stuff for the sports. He did a lot of stuff for communities. And I could only imagine being around a guy like that. I'm sure he was busy when you were growing up.
Very
he
busy.
probably wasn't around a lot, but
Yeah.
he was a great example for everybody in the state of Iowa. So coming from having a good basis like that sure helps, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. And I think whether we realize it or not, our parents rub off on us.
Mm-hmm.
And I think with him, one of the things that probably, I never feel like I'm just like him or anything like that. I mean, I think most of us don't want to be like our parents, and we want to be our own people and everything. But he was a great example. And probably the thing that rubbed off most from him on me is the work ethic and the value of hard work, maybe, that I really appreciate. And man, he always worked so hard.
He did.
And I never thought anything of it, growing up. That's just how it was. But he would get up. I mean, as long as I can remember, he would get up at 3:30 every morning, and he would go to work, and he would work till 5 p.m. And he worked most Saturdays in the mornings, having remote broadcasts and things like that. And he was a great dad and everything, don't get me wrong. And he spent a lot of time with us, but he just worked really, really hard.
He did. What I was fascinated by your dad was this. He worked all the time, but he would do these interviews with these people. And he never got real high or real low. He was the same all the time.
Yeah.
And I'm sure when he went home, that's where he released his tension, because some of these people he did interview, you're like, God bless him, he can handle this. Anyway, there's a lot of respect for your dad, and I think you know that.
Thank you.
And I could imagine having a dad busy like that, you probably get all types of different reactions from. But one thing about him, he was always the steady Eddie guy that showed up and kept the same, never got too high or too low. That's what I was amazed probably anything most about.
Well, and he's, there's a lot of people that I've met that are very different on camera or on microphone than they are in person. And he's totally the same guy, for better or for worse. Yeah. His cheesy humor, wherever he goes, he's got it with him. He's the same guy. Yeah. But yeah, what a blessing to have him as a dad.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of family, business can be a lot of stress. Business can take a lot of time, and building a business can take a lot of time. And so tell us how you balance your personal life with the business life as well. Because I know that's our audience, the achiever, is always challenged with that, because we want to grow the business, but we also want to maintain that family relationship and build that family culture too.
Yep. Well, it's kind of a dichotomy, because you have to be a hard worker. You got to put in the hours. But at the same time, a lot of leaders are addicted to their work, and they spend too much time working and not enough time. We have all these areas of our life, and work isn't the most important. You got faith, you got family, you got your marriage, you got social relationships, you have your physical health. And work is just one of them. Career is just one of them. So to me, I would say first, if we see a billionaire, we say, well, that guy is successful. Well, he might be successful in the career area of his life, but what about the other ones? And I think if you really want to be successful, you try to do your best in every area you can. If you're getting divorced and your marriage is falling apart and your health is horrible, but your business is good, that's not really a big win. So I think that's what I would say first of all, is be aware of the big picture. That's really, really important. But you do have to put in the work and the hours. You just have to be smart about it. When we started Blue Compass, I was probably working 80 hours a week for years. And I remember I would get up early, I would go to work. I would come home for dinner, be with my wife and 2 boys. They would go to bed. I would go back to work. Then I would come back late and I would work on the weekends. And that helped. And I think that maybe made up for my lack of experience and intelligence, probably in some ways. But at the same time, was that great that I spent that time away from my boys back then? Probably not. I probably could have balanced that better. And I think that work was a little more of an idol in my life than it needed to be. So I think it's just being present when you're at work, being focused, working as hard as you can, putting in your 40 hours as solid as you can, or 45 or 50 or whatever it is. And then when you leave and when you're with your family, trying your best to be with your family.
That's interesting. Being present is huge.
Yeah.
By the way, I just wanted to tell you, look, did you see on our health, family, and business?
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, exactly. There you go.
That's what we built this podcast off of,
yeah.
is understanding you got to take care of yourself and family before your business, and try to bring them all three together that's the home run.
Absolutely.
And it sounds like you've been working on that and achieving that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
I agree.
That's awesome.
It is.
You do a lot of speaking, and tell us a little bit about that and what kind of audiences you talk to. Because I know we've got some, certainly our audience here, the Achievers, always looking for new speakers and new guests to give new perspectives. So I'd love to hear what you talk on and how you present to folks.
Before you say it, tell exactly what Blue Origin does.
Blue Compass.
Blue Compass. Yep. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Okay, so a good question, because we probably haven't said that. So Blue Compass is a digital marketing agency, and we help good organizations improve their online presence. We build websites, really incredible websites that actually get conversions, that bring people to the site. Really great at search engine optimization, SEO. Generative engine optimization is real big for us now too, getting our clients to have their content show up on platforms like ChatGPT, online ads, stuff like that. So yeah, that's our sweet spot. Yeah, I forgot your question. I'm sorry.
Well, I want to hear about your
speaking. Sorry.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I do a lot of speaking over the years. Somehow it just kind of happened, I guess. It was never my goal, but now I speak quite a bit. I have numerous speaking gigs that I do a month, and usually it's 1 to 2 topics. One is, like I mentioned, it's what are the tech giants up to? Google, search engine optimization. How can marketers be more effective in this changing modern AI landscape? I talk a lot about the impact of AI on marketing and things like that. And I enjoy that very much. The other topic I talk a lot about is leadership and company culture, work culture, how to craft an incredible company culture that no one wants to leave.
That's awesome.
It is. And you've wrote 3 books?
Yep. So 2 books are out. And the first one was all about content marketing, basically, which is something we've really seen do incredible things for our clients. The second book is called Retain, and it's all about how to have that incredible company culture that no one wants to leave. And then my third book hasn't released yet, but it will next month or the month after, and it's called The Light Leader. And it's all about how to overcome the pressure and stress of leadership and enjoy leading boldly, which I think is something a lot of leaders need these days.
I think that's a great topic, and I'm looking forward to seeing that book out, because I think today's world of leadership is a challenge.
Yeah.
There's so many new stresses that everybody's thinking about, and retention of employees and making sure people are happy, and the work life at, working from home part-time or working in the office, however you want to view it. So tell us a little bit about that new book and what you talk about to get some of that lightness out there.
Yeah. So in the book, I give 5 suggestions on how to perceive that pressure of leadership differently and overcome it, and not just manage your stress, but actually start enjoying leadership again. Because, a lot of people are avoiding leadership these days because, like you said, it's so tough. There's so many pressures. In the modern world, man, it's tough. You got to be up on AI. You got to know how it's affecting your business. You got to work with the global economic shifts. You got to deal with layoffs. You got to deal with everything you said. So it can be really difficult. But there's a lot of things we can do to become better at that. But one of them, I think, is just understanding the thoughts that enter our brains. And that's one thing I've really thought a lot about myself personally over the years. We are always getting thoughts sent to us by our minds that say, you're not good enough. you can't do this. This is too difficult. Things are going to fall apart. It's difficult to deal with those. But, over the years, I've realized just because your brain sends you a thought doesn't mean you need to entertain it. Thoughts are not reality. They're just words and pictures. And if you can be mindful enough to actually recognize your brain is sending you these thoughts, then you can do something with it. And you don't have to dwell on it. You can't necessarily snap your fingers and get rid of a thought, but you don't have to dwell on it. And I think that's really important.
So Drew, tell me, because we all go through, you're absolutely right. The mind is a crazy thing. You're in a thought, you're having one of those down days. How do you change? How do you change that thought? What do you do?
Yeah. I think one of the first things to do is recognize your brain is sending you that thought. So it doesn't mean it's real. We are not our brains. I believe we're body, soul, and mind, and it's just part of you. So if you can first recognize it, that's one of the things I do. And then think about, is that a helpful thought? Is that reality? So questioning the thought, I think, is really important. And then deciding whether to dwell on it or not, or do anything about it. And I think in most cases, saying, nah, I don't really need to dwell on that. Thanks, brain, for sending me that thought, but I'm not really interested. And, I heard recently someone say, stop listening to yourself and start talking to yourself. And I think that's really important too. Not that you shouldn't ever listen to your thoughts, but too many of us are just listening to our thoughts and going along with what our brain tells us. And I try to be more active in telling myself what the real reality is. This is a bad situation, but guess what? There's huge opportunities here. I'm excited for what could happen here, and I'm not going to focus so much on the difficulties of getting there, that sort of thing.
Yeah, and I think you were talking, you're big on leadership and the right type of leadership and atmosphere, culture, because I think it's really important is like when you go through those low periods or tough with your business, surrounding yourself with dynamic people, man, what you can do with your brain. You got that guy, I've got, probably 10 people that I can go to. And it's really important to be able to get out of your what you're in right now. And sometimes it's a weekend with those guys or whoever people that, whatever it is, they're going to knock anything down. Nothing stops them. And boy, that just gets you a reset, because we're all human. We all make mistakes. We just got to find out, being around that gets back to what you like to do with your culture. And just being in your company probably some days is great. Being around those 2 or 3 people that you hired that are rock stars can change the way you think.
Absolutely. You become who you spend time with.
You do.
Absolutely.
And on the flip side, who are you spending time with that's pulling you down, or what's in your life now that's pulling you down? Are you watching the news too much? Are you hanging out with these toxic people?
I'm guessing you got that in your book someplace.
I do. I do. You got it.
That is huge.
Boundaries.
Right.
Boundaries. So do you need some boundaries in your life so you can have a little healthier thought life?
Absolutely. I think it's interesting. Leadership is such a strong characteristic. And I want to hear some stories of what, our show's What's Your Ceiling? Breaking through new ceilings. And as a leader, you're always hitting a ceiling or you're learning something new. What's a ceiling you're trying to break through right now? What's something that you're growing into or that you're working towards?
Wow, that's a great question. And I totally agree. And one of the things, I was having coffee with a guy this morning, and one of the things I was mentioning is, whenever in life you can say, wow, I handled that better than I would have a year ago, that's a really good sign. And that's what I always want to be getting better and improving. And that's so important. And I always feel like, I'm in good shape now. I've made it. I think I can tackle anything. And then a challenge comes and I'm like, man, I need to grow more. That happens. That happens a lot. So, right now I think it's, I'm working on how can I be most valuable for the company? How can I be most valuable for my team? And as a leader, there's so many things that you can be doing. There's infinite things you can be doing, but it's like, what's the most important? What's the most proactive? And I feel like in the last year, I've started to do a better job of going out and finding great opportunities and bringing them back to my team. I want to be a blessing for my team. I want to see them grow. I want to give raises. I want to give promotions. I want to hire great new people. And ultimately, I want to give even better services to our clients. I want to help them grow too. So I think I'm working on, how can I get out there and find not just, I love being in the office. Maybe this is it. I love sitting at my desk, being in the office, being with the team. I love it. I could just do it all day long and never leave. But I think it's important for me to be out there, be the face of the company, help bring opportunities that'll be a blessing to the team. So how can I do that better?
I love it. It always looking towards what's the next thing I'm learning? What's the next mountain that I'm climbing? And I love to hear that. You mentioned you want your team to succeed. How do you help your team grow? What do you do to help them learn more, to get stronger in their skill sets and help them become the best that they can be?
So our second value statement is we grow our expertise, which speaks to that. And so I totally agree. Either as an organization or as a person, you have to be growing or you're going to be falling behind. So I think one of the ways we do it probably is through our one-on-one meetings. So everyone in the company has one-on-ones with their manager, usually weekly, sometimes every other week. And that is a time in which we basically say, how's it going? How are you feeling? What's happening? What do you need? How can we better support you? But it's also a time to say, hey, here's something you can do better. Here's an opportunity for you. And the best leaders push us to places we don't necessarily know we wanted to go. Mm-hmm. And so if you're not pushing as a leader, you're not being a great leader. And that's hard for me. I feel like I'm a people pleaser and I don't really want to push people. And sometimes that's tough.
That's a comfort level that is tough. But let me ask you this. So, Monte talked highly of your company. Sorry about getting you mixed up with Blue Origin.
It's all good.
I think Jeff Bezos, that's his company. You started before he did.
Well, yeah, I did.
So Blue Compass.
I can see how you get, the two mixed up, kind of the same thing.
So let me ask you. So if I'm a person out there that would love to join your group, how would they get a hold of you and your website? Do you go on your website or where do you go? You're stationed out of West Des Moines, Iowa. And it sounds like you got an exciting team. And if you wanted to join your team, where would you go?
So I would just go to bluecompass.com, which is our website, and you can learn all about us there. We have a great page that says culture, and you can see all about us there and what we're doing. You can apply for jobs and things like that. If you're interested in joining our team, I would follow us on social. I would connect with some of our leaders on social. I would learn as much as you can about us. I would watch our videos, read our blogs, and do all that before you connect with us.
So you're on Instagram. You're doing all the.
I'm on everything. Yeah.
You're on everything, obviously digital. It's interesting. Grant Cardone. He's the guru of. You probably have heard Grant before, I'm sure, and many of those guys. I guess that's I'm going to have to check that out. That's get up to date on your company. That's great stuff.
Yeah, we are always posting content, videos. We're very busy online.
So real quick here, you on your website and you have you said you got a statement on there that talks about your culture?
Yeah, we have a whole page that talks about our culture. And if you go, we have a lot of blog articles that do too. I mean, mostly we're posting about our expertise, which again is like search engine optimization and digital marketing and things like that. But we post a lot about, blog articles about our culture. If you go on our YouTube, we have a lot of YouTube videos about our culture and things like that. I have a personal website too, which is just drewharden.com. And that's pretty much exclusively what I post about is company culture and leadership.
Well, that's great to have a guy like you out there, teaching people about culture and leadership. And I understand you got a speaking engagement coming up.
Yeah, in a couple of weeks, I'll be in Fort Lauderdale at IT Expo 2026. I'll be talking about marketing and AI, which will be great. So I'm looking forward to that.
Drew, I really appreciate the conversation because I love talking about culture. I love hearing how you've created and how you learned to get there and everything that you're doing for your team to help fulfill that culture. So, I just love that. The last question I always like to ask is, what do you want to be known for? So when when you're long and gone, and what do you want people to remember for you?
Well, that's a great question. I don't know. I think when I'm long and gone, I want people to say, you know, that's a guy who loved God, loved his family, loved his team, and who led by example, and he created really great cultures for his family and his team to thrive in. I think that would be a big win.
I love that. Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, I always like to reinforce to our audience, the achiever, some good learnings that we captured here today. So I want to pull out a couple things. And you know, I loved something that you just said earlier. You really said visible values. It's not just having them on the wall. It's living them every day. It's your team is a reflection of you. How are you making sure they're visible in everything that you do? Hiring slow. You can teach the skills, but you can't teach the personality. So you got to have that. And I love your new upcoming book. I can't wait to read it. You know, understanding your thoughts and not letting those thoughts take over.
Right.
And is that a helpful thought? Is it helping me move forward, or do I need to redirect that and dwell on the right things, not the wrong things? So, Paul, any other takeaways that you gained from Drew?
I thought Drew was wonderful. I think one thing I loved what he said earlier is setting boundaries in your life, what you're going to let in, what you're going to let out, putting the guardrails up. I think that's a wonderful statement, and I think everybody needs to look at that because you can really uplift your life by setting boundaries.
Absolutely.
That's great.
Absolutely. Yep. Any helpful tips to leave our audience with as we close out today?
I think one of the things we hit on today that I love is just like, as a leader, keep getting better. I know that's what you guys are all about, what this podcast is all about, but anything you can do to learn and grow and get better is a blessing to everyone on your team. Like, it doesn't just benefit you, it benefits everyone. So keep getting better.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Fantastic.
Drew, thank you for being on the show. Really appreciate your insights and the conversation. And to our audience, the achiever, keep learning, keep growing, keep challenging yourself to get better every day as well. So make sure you like us and subscribe. We'll see you on the next episode.